Thank you, thank you.
Oh, look, you're welcome.
When I came over here, I was, oh God, I was in my mid-20s.
Right.
The first time I really came over here. You know, I had a whole bunch of weird paranoid suspicions about what the hell was going on because there was a lot of stuff I couldn't understand.
Right.
And nobody was really bothering to explain it to me.
They don't.
And I formed a bunch of opinions about the town and about the people in it.
The babies, they killed them, they dismembered them, they cut their intestines, and they took feces out, and they ate it. There's this 16-year-old girl, she had some diary entries, written in code about her experiences being raped and impregnated by Epstein. They forced her to carry that baby to term, and they let her keep the baby for a few minutes. Then they came in, took the baby away, ripped it away from this child, and they did who knows.
Ellen DeGeneres really thought leaving Hollywood, moving across the ocean, and basically disappearing from the spotlight was going to make all the noise die down, but it looks like the exact opposite happened, because now people are dragging Mel Gibson back into the conversation and saying he may have been warning everyone about the darker side of Hollywood long before anybody wanted to listen. And the timing is what has everybody looking twice, because Ellen didn't quietly leave at the height of her career. She left after her Be Kind image got completely destroyed. Former employees started exposing what they said was happening behind the scenes of her show, old interviews suddenly started looking way more uncomfortable, and all kinds of disturbing rumors began attaching themselves to people around her. So like the video, subscribe, and comment whether you think Ellen simply wanted a fresh start, or whether she knew it was time to get far away from Hollywood, because once you line up everything that happened before she left, this story starts getting very messy.
Birthday party, am I invited?
Yes. Yes, you're definitely invited. I invite you to all my parties. You just haven't seemed to show up to
No,
any
well,
of them.
is it on the East Coast?
Yes.
Well, that's why. Why don't you have one here on the West Coast? Because I work all the time.
Okay, well, maybe I have one at your house.
Where's that? Now, what time would your party start, let's say?
Like 9:30.
Really, that early?
Yeah.
I could make that.
Yeah.
But I could think of you of starting a party at like midnight. Like, what time will it go till?
That's a different type of party, though.
Uh-huh.
No, it'll go from like 9:30 to like maybe 3 o'clock, 3 o'clock. And then, you know, we have the top 2 floors of the hotel.
Mm-hmm. And then it will carry on there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Then no, I mean the after party.
Mm-hmm. No, I know about them. I'll listen to the music. I've heard that song, After Party.
The most disturbing problems in our world today is human trafficking, and particularly the trafficking of children. Our future is our children. Now, the first step in eradicating this crime is awareness. Go see Sound of Freedom.
Ellen spent years building one of the cleanest images in entertainment. She danced through the audience, surprised people with gifts, joked with celebrities, and ended every show telling everybody to be kind. That was the brand. Then former employees started talking, and suddenly that perfect image cracked. Staff members described a workplace they claimed felt toxic and completely different from the happy environment viewers saw on television. And once people started believing Ellen might be a different person behind the cameras, every old clip came back. Old interviews and stories about how she supposedly treated people off camera started spreading, and moments that once seemed harmless suddenly looked different. And that was really the beginning of Ellen losing control of the narrative, because once people stopped automatically trusting her, everything around her became suspicious. Then, Steven, Twitch boss, died. And because he had become such a recognizable part of Ellen's show, people immediately started digging through old footage looking for answers. One clip involving Ellen, Diddy, and Twitch took off because Diddy whispers something to Ellen while Twitch is standing close enough to react, and viewers became obsessed with the look on his face. Nobody could actually hear what Diddy said, but that didn't stop people from deciding the moment meant something.
You're going to be diverted. When I came over here, I was, oh God, I was in my mid-20s.
Right.
The first time I really came over here. You know, I had a whole bunch of weird paranoid suspicions about what the hell was going on because there was a lot of stuff I couldn't understand.
Right.
And nobody was really bothering to explain it to me.
They don't.
And I formed a bunch of opinions about the town and about the people in it that were like, surely that couldn't be.
And then another Ellen and Diddy interview resurfaced where they joked about his parties, what time they started, and where things continued afterward. At the time, it just played like celebrity banter, but after Diddy's name became connected to much more serious controversy, people replayed that clip and started asking whether Ellen knew more about those parties than she ever let on. That's when the rumors around Twitch got even darker, with people online trying to connect his death to things they believed were happening around powerful celebrities. The theories spread because Ellen's reputation had already fallen so far that people were willing to look at everything differently. Then, Anne Heche got dragged back into the story. Anne and Ellen had one of the most famous relationships in Hollywood years ago, and old interviews resurfaced where Anne spoke about their breakup and described Ellen as somebody who cared heavily about money and success, while Anne said she was looking for something completely different. Anne also made comments about feeling like people tried to bury her truth whenever she spoke out. Then, she was involved in that horrific car crash and later died, and once again people immediately started building theories. Suddenly, old comments from Anne were being treated like warnings, and people started claiming she may have known things Ellen didn't want discussed.
And here's to us.
Yeah. All right. What do you have there? What's that?
Oh, that's something I brought for Portia.
She's not here.
No, but you was going to give it to her as a gift.
All right. Then I'll say it's mine.
Yeah.
Okay. That's sweet. Well, what about for me? Aw, look at that. That's so sweet. Thank you. How come it's for Portia and not me?
Because you're going to have her wear it. And,
All right.
Yo, Ellen, we go so far back. Don't tell these people how far back we go.
I know, but I wear T-shirts. I don't know what that means. Anyway, all right. Let's...
I mean...
You hold that.
Okay.
All right.
I can really take two of the joke didn't work.
No, it's okay.
I don't want no problem.
No, it's okay.
No, hold on. Hey, so, cheers. Hey! Ellen, I heard you were sick, and look what I got you. Your boy. So whenever you get sick, you can have this.
That is where Mel Gibson becomes important, because Mel has spent years making comments about Hollywood that people are now replaying, like he was dropping clues. In one resurfaced conversation, Mel talked about arriving in Hollywood in his 20s and developing what he called weird paranoid suspicions, because there were things happening around him that he couldn't understand, and nobody seemed interested in explaining. Back then, people could brush that off as Mel being paranoid or bitter about Hollywood. Now fans are looking at everything that has happened over the years and asking whether he was seeing something the public couldn't. Mel's own fall from Hollywood only made that theory stronger. After his scandals and controversial comments, he went from being one of the biggest stars in the world to somebody the industry wanted very little to do with. His supporters have long argued that Mel had seen too much and refused to play along. Then, his association with conversations around Sound of Freedom and child trafficking pushed that theory even further, because now people were connecting his old comments about Hollywood to something much darker. And this is where the Ellen rumors go completely off the rails.
For years, there has been a long-standing conspiracy theory that Hollywood and the elites harvest the blood of young people and transfuse it in order to reverse age. And now the Epstein files might have revealed that that is in fact true. In this email to Jeffrey Epstein, it says, all you need is a blood transfusion from the pack and you reverse aging. This is where adrenochrome comes into play. It is a real chemical compound found in the blood when the body is in a fight or flight situation. And we know that the kids that were involved in Jeffrey Epstein's network were definitely put into fight or flight. And of course, we've seen Hollywood elites like Chrissy Teigen tweet about how they're going to a party where they're serving up 4-year-old cheese pizza with adrenochrome and, of course, the eye emoji. And according to the FBI code words, cheese stands for little girl and pizza stands for girl. Now back to the email. The subject is Dr. Agus, a professor of medicine and biomedical engineering at USC, pretty local to Hollywood. He is also the founding director and CEO of the Ellison Medical Institute. You know, the medical institute funded by Larry Ellison, the new owner of TikTok. And he's also hosted a Paramount show with big celebs like Ashton Kutcher and Oprah Winfrey. If you know...
Once Epstein-related documents and stories started circulating again, conspiracy accounts began attaching Ellen's name to theories involving powerful celebrities, human remains, blood rituals, and adrenochrome. Then, a rumor started spreading that Ellen had supposedly been diagnosed with Kuru, a real neurological disease historically associated with ritual cannibalism. That was all conspiracy pages needed. Suddenly, posts were claiming Ellen was going blind, that she looked different, and that she had gone into hiding because of the disease. Nothing publicly confirmed that story, but it spread fast because it fit perfectly with the darker Hollywood theories people were already repeating. And then everybody looked at the fact that Ellen and Portia de Rossi had moved to the UK. Normally, a retired celebrity moving somewhere quiet wouldn't be suspicious. Ellen had ended her show and could easily have wanted a completely different life. But people weren't looking at the move by itself. They were looking at the timing. Her show ends, her public image collapses. Former employees speak out, old Diddy interviews resurface, Twitch's death becomes surrounded by conspiracy theories. Anne H's old comments get dragged back into the spotlight. Epstein becomes a huge conversation again, and then Ellen leaves the country and settles into a quieter life far away from Hollywood. You can see exactly why people who already distrust her started calling it an escape instead of retirement. And Mel Gibson's old comments made that narrative even easier to sell, because suddenly people were taking everything he ever said about Hollywood and treating it like one giant warning. That is why Mel's name fits this story. He doesn't even need a new bombshell about Ellen. People are doing the connecting for him. They hear him talk about Hollywood being weird and secretive, then they look at Ellen going from one of the most protected celebrities on television to somebody who barely wants anything to do with the place anymore, and they decide the two things must be connected. Then Chrissy Teigen's old tweets and interviews got thrown into the same mess, with people reposting dark jokes she had made years earlier and trying to connect them to the same theories surrounding elites and Epstein. Separate scandals, rumors, tragedies, and interviews all got mashed into one giant Hollywood conspiracy, with Ellen right in the middle. But the reason people keep believing these stories has less to do with one specific rumor and more to do with what happened to Ellen's reputation. 10 years ago, almost nobody would have believed something this crazy about her. She was Ellen. She was the dancing, daytime host everybody trusted. But once former employees came forward and people started questioning whether her public personality was genuine, that protection disappeared. And once the audience decides somebody has been hiding one side of themselves, they start wondering what else might have been hidden. That is why every old interview now feels more important than it probably did when it happened, and why Mel Gibson's comments suddenly sound more serious to people who already think Hollywood keeps secrets. Maybe Ellen really did move to England because she was exhausted and wanted peace after decades in the spotlight. But people who already believe something darker was happening are going to look at the exact same move and say she ran when the pressure got too close. And that is what makes this whole situation so messy, because Ellen disappeared at the exact moment people had more questions about her than ever. Instead of staying around Hollywood and rebuilding the friendly image she spent decades creating, she got farther away from it. Maybe it means nothing, or maybe that is exactly why people are still digging. Either way, Mel Gibson's old warnings have given them a new reason to keep looking, and the more old clips they find, the harder it becomes for Ellen to completely disappear from the conversation.